Hello everyone, my name is Brianna Rudder and I'm back at it again with another braid tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to do knotless box braids. So be sure to turn on notifications and subscribe and follow for more because I got more amazing tutorials coming on the way. So for starters, I went ahead and washed and blow dried my hair so that I can begin parting for my braids. As you can see, I already parted a middle part, but I'm going to further clean it up. The number one most important thing you want to keep in mind when doing any type of box braid or individual braided style is to make sure that your parts are very neat. So as you can see here, I'm using the end of my rat tail comb to actually part my sections. The reason why I use the pointer end of my comb is because it allows for the part to be a lot more sharp and precise. When you use the teeth of the comb to part your hair, it's usually not as neat. So I have the first two sections parted in the beginning, and I'm gonna go ahead and begin parting the back of my head. So I already did a couple of rows, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you how you want to begin sectioning so that you can already have pre-parted areas when doing your braids. When you pre-part your sections, it allows for you to do your box braids a lot faster. So if it typically takes you about 5 to 6 hours to do your own box braids, then this will definitely help speed up the time anywhere from about 3 to 4 hours. Now this also depends on the size of your braids as well. But when you pre-section your parts, this allows for you to move a lot faster as a braider because when you actually part individual boxes, it usually takes longer. So as you can see here, I parted a new section, and each of my sections is about 1 inch in width because I wanted my box braids to be about 1 inch by inch, giving me that typical medium size box braid. So I'm going ahead and I'm actually just braiding my own hair. There's no braiding hair I'm adding. I'm just braiding my own hair going from one side to the next, and I'm braiding very loosely. I don't have to braid tight because these braids are going to come back down anyway. You just need to braid them firm enough so that there's no loose hairs, but you don't need to braid them tight at all. So far this is how the back looks. So now I'm gonna go ahead and begin parting the front. Now I stopped when I was halfway done with the back because I wanna make sure that I didn't go too far back on my top sections. As you can see here, I went ahead and I parted on my right side, and now I'm braiding going towards my face. You can braid going away from your face if you want to, it really doesn't matter. You just want to make sure that your parts are neat and clean and that you use clips to keep each section out of the way from other sections. So after parting all of my hair, this is how my pre-parted braid pattern looks for my knotless box braids. Now don't be scared by all the clips. They're just placeholders for your sections. You're only going to be working on one section at a time. This is how the very back of my head looked. I went ahead and did about 3 sections of box braids so that you can get a visual of how you should be progressing. So now I'm gonna go ahead and begin parting my square so that I can show you how to do a knotless box braid. Also, you're going to be using some edge control to keep your parts neat and smooth. This helps to give you lasting power with your braids. Now pay close attention everyone, because I'm going to be showing you multiple examples. You can pick which example works best for you. So the first example I'm going to show you to do the knotless box braid is to divide your hair into 3 equal sections as you see here. Now you're just going to begin braiding about a couple of times until you free your left hand. You're only going to braid about 4 times max. So I'm going to take a little piece of hair and I'm going to put it between my index and thumb, and then I'm going to braid a couple more times until I free my left hand again. I take another small piece of hair, pinch it between my index and thumb, and I do the same process. I make sure I'm just braiding it in. Now you do not have to complicate this. This is extremely easy. All you have to do is follow along with what I'm doing, and you will see that doing these braids is as smooth as butter. So I like to do about 3 to 4 sections of hair when adding it into my knotless box braids because I like the size box braids that I have here. Now if you like your box braids with the knotless method to be thicker or thinner, you're literally just going to add more hair or less hair depending on your taste. So now I'm just going to continue braiding, but I'm not going to braid all the way down. I'm going to leave about 2 inches of hair at the bottom because I'm going to add some crochet hair. This hair is from a brand called Lulu Tress that I purchased off Amazon. And this is a water wave textured crochet hair. So each lock is individually crocheted if you want to do a crochet style, or you can use these pieces of hair to add to the end of your box braids. It gives more of a goddess or a boho type look, but I didn't want the curls to be all the way up the braid, so I'm only putting them at the bottom. So I cut one of the locks in half And then I'm going to make 2 sections out of each side. So each lock gives me enough hair for 2 box braids. So we're gonna take one of the sections here and we're gonna add it to the middle leg as you see here. And then we're just going to simply overlap and continue to braid. After you braid a few times, you're gonna lift one of the locks up onto your clip, and then you're going to continue braiding a few more times and you're gonna release the next one. Once you release the next curl, you use your clip to pin it back up on your braid so that the curl does not fall back into your box braid. So once I'm almost to the very, very bottom, I'm gonna add another piece of hair. So this is only the second piece. Remember, the lock or the curl is cut in half and it's actually created into 4 pieces, but we're only gonna be using 2 pieces per braid. So as I'm braiding, I do the same thing. I release one of the curls and I use the clip to keep it out of the way so it doesn't fall back in. Now that there's one little curl left, I'm literally gonna continue to braid until I run out of kanekalon braiding hair. Once I run out of kanekalon braiding hair, and it's just a curly end, I'm going to do my knotting technique to seal the end. So I take a very tiny piece of hair, I wrap it around the end and I form a knot. Now I take an even smaller piece and I do this again. I wrap it around the end of the hair and then I form a knot and I tighten it real tight. I just yank on it so it's super tight. I usually like to do this about 3 to 4 times, and trust me, the braid will not unravel because the knots are so small and so tight. You don't have to worry about it. As you can see, this is how the braid looks. And I'm gonna show you another technique, so continue watching. For now, I just wanna move the braid around just to give you a visual of how it looks coming from the scalp. It looks very seamless and neat. If you like your box braids to be bigger or smaller, then you can choose to add more or less hair. So now I'm parting my next section directly over the previous braid of my previous section. This allows for you to do the brick layering method. So that way each braid falls into the space of each section, allowing for your braids to look fuller. If you want more details on why I do that particular pattern when braiding, check out my previous videos. So I divided this section here into 2 pieces and I'm going to start braiding that first piece with a little bit of braiding hair, just a little bit. Then I grab the second piece and I feed it into a leg that does not have my real hair. So right now, 2 legs of the braid has my real hair and 1 does not. So now at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and feed another piece of hair. I like to make sure that I braid about 3 to 4 times to free my left hand, to then add the braiding hair in between my index and thumb. The reason why is because you want to stay consistent when you're doing this technique so your braids look very smooth and consistent with the other braids. So if you're always going to free your left hand to add more hair, continue to do that with all of your braids. Don't go back and forth with your right and left hand because it may make the braid not look as smooth. So now I'm just continuing to braid until I have about 2 inches of kanekalon braiding hair at the very bottom before adding my curly crocheted pieces. So as you can see here, I stop about right here, and if the hair extends just a little bit too long, I trim the ends. But for now, I'm gonna take one of the curls, I'm gonna add it to the middle leg and side leg as you see here, and then just keep braiding. If you like doing this technique, let me know down below. And if I make this super easy for you to understand, let me know in the comments because I want to continue to do styles like this. Y'all just gotta let me know how much detail you wanna see when doing these types of looks. So now after braiding a few more times, I'm gonna grab another piece of the curl and I'm going to use my clip to hold it out of the way so that it doesn't fall back into the braid. Now that I'm at the very end of the braid, I add my last curly piece. Remember, each braid only has 2 curly pieces. So now as I'm braiding, I'm gonna braid a few times and then I'm gonna grab the curl and I'm gonna pull it out and I'm gonna use my clip to prevent it from falling back in. Now I'm left with the other half of that curl. I'm gonna continue braiding until I go past the kanekalon braiding hair before I knot it. So I take a tiny piece of hair, I wrap it around the end of the braid, I pull it super tight. I divide that hair literally so small you can barely see it, and I still form another knot. This is very important in preventing your box braids from unraveling when your style is done. You don't have to dip these braids in hot water. You don't have to burn seal these braids at all. You just use this knotting technique to prevent your braids from unraveling, as you can see here. So now what I'm gonna show you is I'm actually pointing to the techniques. So these 2 techniques, I actually divided my hair into 3 when I braided, and these 2 braids, I actually added braiding hair. So as you can see, when you're super up close, it's really hard to tell the difference, but the proof is in the longevity of your style. When you braid your real hair first before adding braiding hair, the braids tend to get a little bit more fuzzy at the roots. But if you add a little bit of braiding hair when you immediately start braiding, it makes the braids last longer. So if you like that type of tip, let me know in the comments. So now at the very front of my head, I'm going to show you how you want to braid your braids. We're gonna divide that last section into 2 pieces, and we're gonna pre-section our curly crochet lock. So this curly crochet was already cut in half, and now I'm just dividing it into 2 further pieces. Remember, each curly crochet serves for 2 braids. Now I'm gonna go ahead and begin pinching my braiding hair so that I can start braiding my knotless box braid. I like to keep the size of the braiding hair very similar. Now when I first add my first pinch of braiding hair, is usually just a little bit smaller, so that way it's a gradual increase in size when I'm braiding. So this is how the 4 pieces of hair look. As you can see here, they're very similar in size. So we're gonna go ahead and begin parting for our final 2 braids that I'm gonna show you how to do in the front. If you wanna see any other type of techniques and detailed tutorials like this, all you gotta do is drop a comment and let me know what you wanna see next. So now I'm just dividing that in half, and I'm gonna use a clip to keep the other section of my hair out of the way so that I can begin braiding. Go ahead and add any edge control or gel you want. This step is a must. You want to add some type of edge control because it helps to keep the roots of your braid very neat. With this technique, I only divided my hair into 2, and I'm using 1 piece of hair, and I'm using my real hair as a 3rd leg. So as you can see here, I'm just braiding it with 1 small piece of hair. This helps the braids to last a lot longer when you start with a little bit of braiding hair. I prefer this technique when doing knotless instead of braiding on your real hair first. So I like to add a little bit of braiding hair at the very beginning. It makes the roots a little tighter, and it prevents the style from looking as frizzy during the duration of wearing your braids. Now we're gonna grab another piece of hair. We're gonna pinch it in between our index and thumb to feed it in. As you can see, I pushed 1 leg to the back, and then I just continued braiding. We're gonna add our next piece, and you're doing the same technique. When you're braiding your hair, it's very important that you're consciously smoothing your fingers every time you go back and forth from one side of your leg of your braid to the next. When you make sure to give a conscious effort to continue to smooth your hair as you braid, it makes your style look a whole lot better. If you've ever had issues with frizzy braids right after braiding your hair, it's because you're not smoothing your fingers on each leg as you braid. You want to smooth as you braid down. It prevents you from having flyaways, and it also prevents your braids from looking frizzy. Also, if it helps you, you can use a little bit of edge control on your fingers and continue braiding so that you can smooth the ends of your real hair. So now we just trim the end of the braid, and this is how you want to look before adding your crochet curls. So I'm gonna start with one of the curls, and I'm gonna go ahead and put one of the curls in the very middle leg and off to the side. So that way I can easily incorporate it into my box braid, as you can see here. And then you just continue to overlap one leg over the other. Extremely simple and easy to do. So after overlapping just a couple of times, literally about 2 times, I just pull one of the curls out, and then I continue braiding. Make sure that you don't pull both curls out at the same time, because it will literally fall out of your braid. You want to pull the first one out after about 3 rotations, and then you want to pull the second one out after about 3 or 4 rotations. So now that I'm at the very, very bottom of the braid, I'm gonna add my second curly crochet piece to the ends. Now, adding curly hair to your knotless box braids is totally optional. I just like this look because it kind of almost looks like a beachy type style, something you wear on vacation. And you know, we all cooped up in the house sometimes, and I figure I need to make my style look a little bit more luxurious than just having the ends without any curls. So when you add crochet curls, it definitely adds to the look of your style. And I only used 1 package of curly crochet hair to do all of these braids. You do not have to add a lot of curls, because if you do, it can make the bottom of your braids look a little too heavy. So now I'm doing my knotting technique in order to seal the end of the braid. That way I don't have to burn the ends or hot water seal or anything like that. And it makes it look super seamless when you do these really small knots. So now I'm gonna remove the clip and show you how the ends look so pretty. Give me a big thumbs up if you like the way this style is looking. So now we're gonna focus on our very last braid. We're at the home stretch, ladies, okay? So I need y'all to hang in there. So now we're gonna go ahead and divide our hair into 3 sections and begin braiding. Then we add some braiding hair. Remember, you can alternate both back and forth between these techniques depending on whichever one is easier for you. When adding hair, I like to pinch it between my index and thumb and feed it underneath my hand so that way it's easy to add to each leg of my braid. So make sure you pinch and open your fingers and then just scoop it right under your index. When you scoop it under your index, it seamlessly adds into each leg of your braid. You don't have to overcomplicate this. You ain't gotta think too hard about it. This is super simple and easy to do. And when you actually do this style in your hair, I highly suggest that you come back and watch this tutorial and do it with me. So that way you're following everything to the T. So now I'm just moving the braid forward so it's a little easier for me to continue braiding my hair. And I leave about 2 to 3 inches of hair at the ends and I just trim off the very bottom. So this is how it should look right before adding your curly crochet pieces. How do you ladies typically like to wear your box braids? Do you like to add curly pieces to the bottom or do you like to leave the ends straight? Sometimes I like to actually curl the ends of the braiding hair and sometimes I also like to add crochet. It really depends on the size of the box braids for me. So let me know in the comments. Also, I typically like to braid my braids with the black hair color because I know most of us love to wear our box braids in a dark color, but if you like to do other colors, let me know, whether it's an ombre brown or blonde. I would love to do those looks as well. So I only have a little bit of hair at the very bottom of my last box braid. So I'm gonna go ahead and add another curly piece. Each box braid only has 2 curly crochet pieces added. So after braiding about 4 rotations, I then grab one of the curls and I move it upwards and I use my clip to keep it out of the way so it doesn't fall back into the braid. Now you only have one little curly piece left. Make sure to braid past the braiding hair. Once you do, you form your knots by constantly tying around the bottom of the braid. This is so easy to do. So there you have it, ladies. This is the final look to the braid. So we are almost done, but I have to clean up these ends to make sure they're even and consistent. So after brushing out all the hair very evenly, I'm then going to take some scissors and trim the ends of the hair. You don't have to use your best scissors because this is not real human hair, so you don't have to have like amazing hair cutting shears. You just use any old scissors you got to trim the ends. Now I'm going to make sure to put some hair styling gel on the ends of the curls. That way the curls won't get frizzy and it allows the crochet hair to last as long as the box braids. If you've ever done crochet braids before with crochet hair, you know that sometimes those curls be getting way too frizzy when you're not even ready to take down your style. So I always suggest that you use styling gel on your curls to make them last. So now we're gonna use a little bit of edge control to just style up the little bit of edges that's sticking out. I did not purposefully leave out my edges, but I do have very fine edges on my hairline. So I'm just using a little bit of hair gel or some actual edge control to style it up. And then I want to make sure that the braids match the little bit of shininess that the curls have. So I didn't use a lot of oil sheen, I just used a little bit to smooth it in. So now I'm gonna show you how you can style your knotless box braids. You can wear this style up or down. You can wear one ponytail, multiple ponytails. I'm just doing a really quick speed through just to show you how easy it is to put your hair up into a ponytail with my technique. Because some of you ladies know when you get your hair braided, your scalp is on fire. And it's hard to do anything with your hair because your scalp hurts. But when you do my technique, you don't have to worry about that because you literally feel no tension on your scalp. You can wear your hair up and down on day one, whenever you want and however you want. So this is just a few little cute ponytails that you can do with your knotless box braid. If you don't want to necessarily wear it all down, you can wear it half up and half down. So then for the last style, you just put it into one big old ponytail. Now this braided ponytail kind of reminds me of something. I can't quite put my finger on it. So let me know down below if you know what that braided ponytail reminds you of. So this is how the knotless box braid look all completed. Also, if you're interested in becoming a full-time YouTuber like me, then I made an online course called YouTube University, where I teach you all the ins and outs of how to become a full-time YouTuber. If you're interested, links are in the description below. And I'll catch y'all in my very next video. Bye bye.